Okay.
Actually, you know,
Yep.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I guess we can have comments if anyone has anything to say.
Bill Walker, 9 Riverside Drive. I've got a few questions on the police cruiser. Should I wait until you get to that agenda?
I think it'd be a good idea.
That's okay.
Anybody else? Okay, so now it's the next 7.1 is the planning board agenda.
So, the motion was tabled last week, last meeting, sorry. So in the meantime, I did invite the planning board. I spoke to Mr. Goulet, and he made a good point about them coming and not having that be a non-advertised meeting. So what he asked for was a letter, something that kind of clarified what the council was looking for. So I tried to just reiterate what was kind of passed and asked at the January meeting, and again what was tabled as draft language, so you can feel free to modify it as a formal letter that we can pass over to the planning board before their next meeting for them to consider. What I did also was jump on redrafting the FOAA ordinance that we already have in place to hopefully, I think, better better reflect what it is that's being asked. And based on the other meetings, because I don't think it was really just about planning board or about a specific committee, but in general, based on FOAA and some of the changes in all of the committees after the meeting with Don Garish about notices and open meeting policies, and I think that's what was the impetus behind some of the requests. So I took a preemptive stab at that draft language and included that for you. The draft language is a modification from the 2012 version that was really specifically only designed to address the way in which the town handled FOAA requests and what people would have to do to follow those processes, and it still fits state law. The only thing I added was guidelines concerning access to public procedures, which is a similar portion of the same state law that the first ordinance was out of, and added that general section 1 and A through D. I tried to base off of the state guidelines, but also off from, I think, what was being asked at the past couple meetings, for what we were looking for, and again, from what Mr. Garish was speaking of.
Okay, so this letter, would we need to make, we just need to say this is okay? Keep on signing it.
Yep,
It's not, it's no
if you
motion,
want.
or anything.
Right, and the language itself, and I think really what was being asked is being asked of town staff as well, and I don't think that we have any concerns with doing it. We're already doing most of the work anyway, especially when it comes to the meeting. It would really, add another page to the website and maybe from the rest of the committees, and we can be a little bit more insistent in kind of chasing down some of the other ones that we're getting, so we can get them in your packets as well as getting them actually on a designated page online. We have many of them are already typed anyway. For the ones that the clerk sits and takes minutes for, we already have all those digitized, so those are easy to go up.
Okay, so this, behind this letter, is something that we would have to, would be an ordinance?
Yep, similar to the other ones. So,
So
it'd be a
is
first
this the
reading.
planning board would have to adopt this?
This
Or
would be the
we
council.
We would have to adopt this?
Yep, because it affects all committees.
Okay, so is this something that we would need, is this the first reading? No,
Nope.
just us to look at it?
Yep.
First reading would be if we approved this?
Right, and that's why I think including it with the letter, let the planning board see it as well, 'cause I
Okay.
think they'd be mostly effective, but not much more so
Okay.
than any of the others.
Okay, so you don't need a motion or anything, we just,
If you do want to approve it and sign it, I just drafted it to be signed from yourself as the chair.
well, is there any objections?
Nope.
I think it looks good.
Is this something that's gonna be given to the planning board, is that?
Yeah, I can do it right now.
This is not what we're talking about.
That just says draft, you guys wanna
Yeah,
say
fresh one
draft.
too if you want. So.
Now, what do you want? A signature?
Just on the cover sheet, if you want to send that letter, and I'll send that kind of draft proposed language, and this would give them the opportunity, because they are meeting next week, to kind of review it. And really, the only changes from the January meeting, it was requested that the planning board meetings be videotaped and posted similar to the council, which is included in the draft language amendments to the ordinance, as well as the budget committee, which we were doing anyway. And the other one is really on staff to make sure that we build a space on our site to post the agenda within the recommended time frame, as well as the meeting minutes when they're done, which we normally have. From the planning board point of view, we have no trouble or concern getting the meeting minutes, because Julie's taken them anyway. Some of the other committees, which have included the language, I'll start chasing them more to make sure that we get follow-up with historical, library, rec, development commission as well. And just include them in your packets as well as getting them up on the site, because they do qualify as public proceedings.
Okay, so on to the next. 8.1, first reading of the emergency closure, office closure.
So this was based on Nick's request at the last meeting. I jumped on it when I found out we were doing the special meeting anyway for the cruiser purchase. So draft language as a first formal reading. Let me know if you have any additions or subtractions. Really, this offered, and even some of the other situations you mentioned that may not be a snow day closure, I changed the language to really reflect that. And this would allow us to go back to operating the way that we were doing under precedent, but have a formal change to the personnel policy to allow us to do it.
You said you took Friday off, so they got paid for that.
Knowing this was coming, yes, and I spoke to Lisa after our last meeting and said that I was jumping on the draft changes for the language, and as long as you guys are okay with it, we'll process it the way we were doing it prior.
And the time that, the last snow day that we had, they'll be compensated somehow?
I have to double check and see if we can go back, if she'd already closed that pay period. And I have to see if we are able to modify something that we've already closed out.
Okay.
And it's not us, it's payroll and the state.
Right, but, Keith, man,
Sure.
we had talked about maybe doing some comp time or something.
Yep.
Yeah, and that payroll is definitely closed, but there's no, I mean, it's like retro pay or something, just, if we're just gonna be fair about it, unless, like, just be transparent about it. We missed a day, Friday happened.
Mark and I were saying, I'd be careful about doing the payback, because you could get drawn into last winter and everything like that, so you may just have to have them swallow the last one and carry on from now. I mean, you gotta be careful about going back to, you know, how far will you be requested to go back?
Well, was it practiced last winter? But when we had snow days last year,
Yes.
did they get paid?
Yes.
Okay. It would just be that one day.
And it would be easier for us, yeah, and we can bring it back once we finish quantifying it and add back to vacation to offset
Sure.
it, which would be the easiest way to do it.
I'm good with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you need us to sign this?
Nope, this is first reading, I'll pull it, there'll be advertise it, as we're doing with the other language, and have a public hearing next meeting before we can adopt it formally.
So now we have the fun one. you want to make a comment?
Yes, I do, Keith. I just need a little information. For one thing, was it insured by our own insurance company? If so, did our own insurance company total it? Or did they recommend that it be repaired? And if so, what's the mileage on the vehicle? Is it worth repairing? And I would also like to know, since the chief is here, how's he doing on that surplus vehicle that he was gonna try to acquire?
Just a minute, you talk, he'll talk, one at a time.
Those are my questions, and somebody can answer it, I'm sure.
Anybody else have questions? Okay, chief, you have a question?
Yes, I'm kind of gimpy, so if you don't mind my setting my stock.
Excuse me, please stand and, never mind, I see you.
It's all right, it's not that bad. My question is, with one of these vehicles, are they covered by warranties? I mean, we're dealing with a hybrid vehicle versus a standard engine one. The maintenance on that might very well exceed, gas mileage savings really quick if it's not warranted, so I'm just curious if they're both covered in the warranties.
Okay,
and stuff
I
like that.
think now we'll have the chief talk to us about the different options, and then, you can, would you mind coming up front?
No, I don't mind at all.
If I can jump on the first part of it, cruiser was insured.
By us,
By us.
because his insurance ain't gonna pay, that's what he's committing crime.
I guess to start with it, his vehicle was insured. We don't know as of yet if it's going to cover. I believe they're going to have to. Our vehicle, they probably won't cover him to pay for his vehicle because of the fact that possibly because he was committing a crime in doing what happened, if they determine that that's exactly what it was. Of course, a lot of this all hinges on an investigation that is done by the Attorney General's office and the state police, so I have no say in it. But I believe his insurance company is going to have to pay. But I know our insurance company is taking care of things so that we can try and get this underway and get this taken care of.
Okay, now, can you answer somebody wanted to know what the mileage was?
I don't know exactly. I think it was right around 60 to somewhere in the 60 to 70,000 mile range. No, the vehicle is completely totaled, and no, it can't be repaired. Not to where I would feel comfortable putting an officer in it, driving under police pursuit type conditions. I mean, to give you an idea, we have that, I don't know if you remember what our cruisers look like, but we have a grill guard that's on the front of them, which is bolted to what is considered the frame of the vehicle, even though it's a unibody type vehicle, so it's not a traditional frame. The grill guard left our vehicle and continued on with their vehicle when it was rammed. And when we went to pick it up to put it back with our vehicle, the frame portion that bolts to the front of our car was still attached to the grill guard. So it's a total loss. There's no doubt. I mean, the insurance adjuster was looking at it for about 30 seconds when he told me that it's a total loss.
Do you have any more questions?
Just on the surplus vehicle.
The surplus vehicle, I've applied to be in the thing, and of course, it's a federal government program, so there's okay, you're approved, now you'll get this email with this form. So I've been in touch with them, said I haven't received an email yet, so they said, well, we'll check with somebody and get back to you. It went about 2 months, nobody got back to me, so I got back in touch with them. In the meantime, somebody that used to be the head of it is kind of in the process of retiring. So they're looking to get somebody else in it, and that person's gonna get back to me when they get adjusted into their new position and they can do it.
Now, is our light bar and computer and everything like that salvageable out of that?
As far as we know, the guy, we call it upfitting, the guy that upfits the cruisers, his name is Sean Adams, Adams Emergency Vehicles. As far as we know, everything is good. There are some things, one of the big things that people don't realize, the cabling for the camera system is very fragile. So he said it doesn't matter that if one of the cameras was still working, one of them wasn't. You got to replace the entire harness because it's that fragile. You don't want to put it all back in there and have it fail a week or 2 weeks down the road.
Will the insurance cover that also?
I have no idea what the insurance is going to cover. He's put together a whole packet that's part of what you got that shows, I believe, did they get that piece? That what he is basically submitting to us to submit to the insurance company to replace the damaged stuff or stuff that needs replacement. Almost everything in the passenger compartment remained intact and appeared to work. Our biggest question is the two-way radio. When he tried to call on the radio, he couldn't get out, he couldn't get it to work. Now, was a wire knocked off or was the radio damaged? We don't know. But the problem is what we kind of asked a question about beforehand is the lights, it isn't a light bar anymore on top of the car, everything remains inside the vehicle. Well, Ford has changed the inside of their vehicles from the 2016 to the 2020, so even though some of the lights can still be used, the mounting brackets to make them mount in the vehicle properly so that, like, the lights don't flash back in our eyes when we're driving and everything have to be changed. So there's stuff in there there's a lot of things I think you'll see where it's like either MTS or MNTS, or you might even spell it out as mounts, but there's
Have you
different.
looked at other vehicles other than Ford?
We can, but I can't get it immediately. That was the whole idea behind this. I found one that's sitting on a lot right now. Now, if we go to other vehicles, then that means pretty much replacing the entire emergency lighting system, because those lights are made for a Ford, even though they've changed it and we need some different brackets. I mean, it's close to the same, where you go to a Dodge, the entire inside of the Dodge is completely different than the Ford, and it would probably mean changing everything.
We've reviewed it 3 to 4 months ago because it was coming up to replace this Interceptor. This was a vehicle that was slated, and what we were getting for numbers, we were not going to be able to, you can tell from our balance, and the CIP is really just under what we're looking at. When we looked at it a few months ago, we were in the $50,000 ballpark with fit out and with fully equipping a new vehicle, which is why we're dragging our feet. We didn't have the money to do it this year. We're going to push it off another year. What we're really asking for today is to use the emergency exception under the purchase and bidding process to take the cruiser that we have on the site, which is the hybrid, from the person that we've worked with in the past. He did provide the options for another, the non-hybrid version. It's not on the lot, and what we're still looking at is even if we do pick up the new Interceptor tomorrow, it's going to be potentially 2 to 3 weeks to get it through fit out and get all the equipment in it before they can start running it again. So we're looking at trying to just get a vehicle back in service, and that's why we're looking for the exception to circumvent the bidding process, so that we're not going to be pulling it out and trying to find what other models may be out there right yet.
Lou Nance, Jordan Road, Mechanic Falls. My question would be, what would be the difference in cost between the hybrid and non-hybrid and the time frame to get the other one versus this one that's readily available?
There's about
And is the insurance going to cover the difference?
There's about a $3,000 difference. So what we're looking at is about fully fit out. So there's the 2 vehicle options on your cheat sheet. Fully fit out, it includes the vehicle and then the removal and repair, pulling the information from the old Interceptor, and then also the 2020 fit out, which is getting the extra equipment that won't fit from the old one, or the new brackets and mounts to make it fit the new one. In the bottom lines, we're looking at $45,426 for the hybrid version, and then $48,176 for the non-hybrid version. Now, in the concern towards the warranty, I'll let the chief speak to that.
Police cruisers come with a standard warranty. They don't give you any extra, they don't really give you any less. They just have a standard warranty. You might actually get a little less than passenger cars on the drivetrain because they know how we drive them. But it's one vehicle, and it wasn't even a police cruiser, it was one of the pickup trucks we bought once. We bought an extended warranty for it. Used it very little, and one of the times we tried to use it, we got the no, that part isn't covered. That isn't covered, and we decided that it just really wasn't in our best interest money-wise to buy the extended warranties. So for a warranty, what you get on them is what you get on them unless you want to pay more. They do have some plans where you can pay more for more warranty, but you're paying for it. They're not giving you a thing, you're paying for every bit of it.
The difference with the hybrid version is it's the same 6-cylinder motor. It's the 4.3. So the hybrid is not necessarily, I guess, like what any of the electric drives are. You're getting the same motor. What they're opting for is a smaller gas tank, so it's a smaller fuel capacity, but they're adding a specific battery for long-term, essentially no idle, where the vehicle's not sitting there idling while it's running off from the extended battery life to run the systems. So the upside for us, and I think what we're looking at is, at least with the hybrid, we're not clogging up the catalytic converter, we're not just putting hours of idling on a vehicle if we're allowed to sit there with it on, ready to go, push to start, without having to worry about, A, it just sitting there burning up fuel we're paying for anywhere, or that it may not start.
Most of your vehicles that are set up like that, they'll restart the engine anyways after a certain amount of time, so you won't drain the battery. I know my Chevy is.
And that's the way the newer hybrids are, some of these
What's
SUV
really the
hybrids.
advantage of having a hybrid?
You're not wasting
This
fuel.
They go.
This is a bigger lithium ion type battery. I mean, the way the outfitter described it to me, they went and saw it when they were demonstrating it. They said it was 85 to 90 degrees out. They had all the equipment inside the vehicle running. They had it sitting idling, air conditioned on full, and they even had the doors open so that everybody could see what it was doing. It would shut down, all the equipment remained running, the air conditioner ran strong through the hot temperatures, and they said that even with the doors open, they could put their hand in, it was ice cold air coming out of the things.
For what length of time?
They don't tell you what length of time, but they aren't like claiming it's 10 minutes and then you're done. They're just saying it'll run for a while. That battery will do its job.
Usually when you go with those cruisers, you go with them. And
Yep.
you're gonna be burning gas anyway at a heavy rate. So I really, for a cruiser, it's hard for me to see the advantage of paying extra money for a hybrid.
We are
We're not,
paying,
Yeah.
we're paying less.
And
They-
less.
Hybrids,
It's actually less money for the hybrid because the other two cruisers, basically the one that's sitting there on the lot that we can get is silver. Our cars have been traditionally black. I prefer to keep them the same, but the silver one is sitting there. We can get that, that's a hybrid. There's a possibility of two identical cars coming in that the state police have ordered that the way they are, they could forego taking one of these two and get one on the back end of it when they can order more or get more in. These are, the state police orders it with a lot more bells and whistles in there, so it's already ordered. It's not anything I can order, because that would just to smash the whole time thing. I mean, it takes months to get these cars in. So if I want it, I gotta take it, the black one that might come in, and that's the other thing. He said it could be here tomorrow, it could be here next week, it could be here in 2 months. I can't tell you.
Yeah, you can't wait that long.
Right, so the black one that would be coming in has a lot more bells and whistles and is more money than the hybrid. But the hybrids, if you're comparing car to car, equipment across the board, other than the fact that it's a hybrid, the hybrids are more money. But the two choices I'm gonna get possibly for, that might be in tomorrow, the non-hybrid car is a more expensive car.
Paula Stotts, 87 Standpipe Road, 2 questions. Is the insurance company gonna be quick enough for us to be able to get this as soon as we need it? And then the other question is about the hybrid and cold. How do they do with extreme cold?
I haven't heard anything about cold, but I mean, they're selling them up here, so I haven't heard of anybody having any issues with them.
Zach, I don't know if you would answer this, or maybe Jeff would. The hybrid versus just a standard vehicle, is the service agreement any different on the hybrid to kind of address the concerns the gentleman had out there? Do we have to, is it gonna need more service maybe than a conventional vehicle versus a hybrid? Is that gonna cost us more just to have it serviced, if that's the case?
Yeah, I haven't heard of it costing any more, and all the salesman could tell me is that they have not, traditionally, he said, since they came out with the hybrid, which it's only been a few months, but nobody has had to replace a battery in a hybrid. The hybrid battery is lasting longer than the car. The cars get traded in for new cars before that battery goes bad, is what he told me. But that's just what a salesman's telling me. I mean, there isn't enough data on them right now. I haven't had enough time to research them.
You guys have never dealt with a hybrid before, probably?
No.
the only real difference, and I mean, saving grace for me is that we're still running a traditional 6-cylinder motor. So we know when you step on the gas, it's gonna work. It's got a regenerative braking system, which is really gonna help charge it within the process of driving it. But I'm just looking at it as the added battery power to run the systems with the car off. But outside of that, the way that it operates, they haven't given us a difference on the service policies. And there's something else. Give me a minute and I'll remember it. You can move forward.
I have one question. The hybrid, you can have in a couple of weeks.
The hybrid, yeah, I mean, the hybrid, we should be able to put it on the road. My upfitting guy said, he told me probably 2 weeks, so I said 2 to 3 weeks. There's always,
But that's gonna be the quickest that you're gonna.
that's
be
the
able to do.
quickest that I can get.
With the hybrid, he said it was silver. Will we be able to get it painted to our town's colors?
Yeah, I'll keep it silver.
You'll
I'm not
keep it
gonna spend
silver?
any extra money to
Okay.
try and paint the car black. We'll just run a silver car. We've changed colors before. We've been blue, we've been gray, we were black.
Good to
now
have
we're
a
going
different one
silver.
out there.
Orange trunk and
Yeah, that was before my time. But yeah, there was a time when the hood of the car was bright orange. I had nothing to do with it.
I don't. Okay, well, I think we should, move this. But I'll entertain a motion.
So Chief, you want the hybrid,
I want,
whatever you can get quickly?
I'm not hung up on the color. I want the car that I know is sitting there that I can get. And it's the cheapest one, and I think that's the best way to go.
And the sourcing was the other thing. For insurance, it's not gonna pay out in time for us to buy it, get it moving and replace it. But what we can do is designate the funds in the motion from general fund or CIP to be replaced from insurance funds when they come in. Because we don't have, we do have enough money in the CIP to get it started, and then replenish those funds. So anything coming in from insurance, we're gonna direct right back to replenish the cruiser CIP.
Okay, I make a motion that we take out of general funds the $45,426.69 to buy this hybrid police cruiser.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Chief,
Unanimous.
that's one. That 45,000, that's just for the vehicle. What about putting the mechanic falls, decals on it and everything else?
That's a small enough of a bill. Because these are estimates, and Sean Adams usually estimates on the high side because he knows town councils hate it when he comes back with a bill that's more than what he estimated. So he usually estimates on the high side, and it should be able to fit the decaling in.
And he'll do that as well?
I don't know about how quick I can get the decals done. I'm not concerned about it. I need to get a car that I know we can use before we've had it happen a couple of times in my 30 years that we lost both cars at one point and we didn't have a cruiser. I had to borrow a cruiser from another agency and that's pretty embarrassing.
Oh, man. And Officer Daigle, he's not gonna throw in the hat?
Nope, he's doing well. Doing very well.
Good.
Doing very well.
Is there any other business that needs to come? Okay. Have something?
Yes. If we wanna follow the same process and schedule a workshop for the hour before the next regular meeting. And I've been working on some annual schedules and some structures, that we've been putting together that we'd like to actually sit down and share with you.
Do you need a motion?
Nope. But if you're good with doing that, I'll just add it, to the next
So
one.
5 PM to 6 PM, is that what we do?
Okay, and I'll put that in my phone.
Okay.
You can put that in big, bold
I'll put it in
letters.
the subject.
Okay, I'll entertain the motion to close.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor? Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.